Hello, my name is Tracy James, and welcome to Off My Shelf, a podcast about movies that are, well, off my shelf, where we go through DVDs and talk about movies in my collection. In this episode, Sarah Behl returns, and we talk about Aeon Flux. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Yay! So we're going to talk about Aeon Flux, the not to be confused with the horrible Charlize Theron movies that came out in the early 2000s. But we're talking about the actual original animated series that really bad movie is based off. The collection that I have, I actually didn't realize it was as small as it was, because I know I've watched them before. But it turns out it's only like 6 shorts and 10 actual full-length episodes that was released over like 4 years, which kind of blows my mind. But yeah, these were originally aired on MTV's Liquid Television. I guess that was the beginning of that point in time where MTV just started showing shows instead of actual music videos.
And they did have that habit of like repeating stuff endlessly, so like that probably helped the fact that they only had 10 episodes.
Oh, very.
Because they just showed it every night.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Because they had Aeon Flux, they had the Max as well. Then later on they brought in like something called the Oddities. Then it was turned into like the Head and the Oblongs and a bunch of other different shows that were like weird, subversive, animated things that were just on a different level.
I'm Team Daria all the way.
Oh, well, yes, we can never forget about Daria. But Daria was on.
Yeah, it wasn't Liquid.
Yeah, like I think it was like on, because I think Liquid Television started at like 11 p.m. or something, and like Daria was like part of their like prime time, you know, with like Beavis and Butthead and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So anyway, so back to Aeon Flux. So what did you think?
It was definitely a precursor to a lot of others 90 material to come out. Like the whole time I was watching it, my partner Jeff just kept commenting. He's like, "This looks like the Animatrix."
Actually, the animator who did Aeon Flux did one of the episodes for the Animatrix.
I know, he looked it up while I was watching it.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it was Peter Chung, and he did the Animatrix, and it makes total sense. And even, like, I feel like it influenced other things that happened, like, in terms of sci-fi in the 90s. Like, even The Matrix, like, some of, like, the physical elements, like, the weird bugs going through the belly button, and, like, there's, like, sci-fi elements there that I feel like were inspired from, like, weird like experimental sci-fi in the 70s. You kind of felt that a little. Like, do you remember that movie Fantastic Planet?
Yes.
Yeah. Like this, I don't know why, but this series reminded me a lot of Fantastic Planet, because it's kind of like ambiguous. Like, you don't really know like a concrete storyline in terms of like, and there's it's not very linear. It seems to be kind of like chopped up into bits.
Yes.
And like, there's some weird relationship between aliens and humans and like, and otherworldly creatures
But they only bring up aliens in literally one episode.
I thought there was more than one alien. What about the god alien?
Yeah, that's the only one they brought it up in.
But what about when they're in the submarine and they're submerged in that underwater thing?
Yeah.
And do you remember those like guys eating in the canteen? Aren't those aliens?
No, I thought those were just all, because it's a society where people enhance themselves with like biotechnology and like give themselves extra arms and abilities and stuff.
So those were like genetically modified humans?
Not genetically, like surgically modified humans.
The ones that look like the green family, like the green babies and the green parents.
Oh, those things. Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And what about like the last episode with like the structure, even though it turns out to be people at the end. But it first appears as aliens. They come from outer space. Yeah. They've hit by the ray. They have poisoning.
But
they aliens?
No, technically they are a species that has evolved from human beings.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're technically not aliens, right? So I never consider them to be aliens, because that's the whole point, is that by the end she wakes up, in the future and they're all over the place, but it's actually because everybody just evolved into that state of being, right? And I think the quote unquote alien that they meet at the beginning of that episode is actually just a version of human beings who were on another planet but evolved faster, or their evolution started earlier, and then they turned into that and they came to Earth. Like, that's how it was. Not really aliens, they're just evolutionary
distant from humans.
Yes. Yeah.
The next version.
It's
the
like,
next iteration.
It's like us hanging out with like monkeys and apes. Like, you know, in that scenario, we're the monkeys and apes.
Hominid, what's that called? Hominid version 5.0 or something.
Something like that. Yeah. I would think so.
But what about there's that episode where they have like the consciousness inserted into them, and then what is it, the custodian, do you remember that?
Yes.
And so that seemed to be like one of the dividing factors between like what do they call it, the Moroccans, or
no, but wasn't the
and
whole,
the Breen, like,
yeah, but wasn't the whole thing was that one city was actually, what is that guy's name, hold on,
Trevor?
Yes, Trevor Goodchild. That's it.
Yeah.
Trevor Goodchild. The whole point is that he was in control of one city that was walled off. And if you're in that city, you weren't allowed to leave. And people from outside weren't allowed to come in. And it was all about controlling and making the perfect society in this one walled place, right? And then, like, the custodians were to make the people within that city perfect, quote unquote. Okay. And that's all it was, right?
I thought for some reason, I don't know where this interpretation came from, but I thought like for some reason the Breen had inherited like an alien type host, which is what made them different from regular people. I don't know.
That's not what I got from the story.
Maybe I'm just overly interpreting. Maybe I'm just thinking Fantastic Planet.
Maybe that's exactly
but
what
also,
it is,
it reminded me so much of other 90s sci-fi. And also very recent sci-fi that maybe it's just like mixing up in my mind.
Well, because a lot of sci-fi right now, especially when, like, they like to... Like, one thing I realized about this show is that I keep trying to figure out if the society they live in is supposed to be a utopia or if it's a dystopia. And the thing is that Goodchild is trying his best to make it a utopia, but the only way he can make it a utopia is to control every aspect of it. And the whole series is about him failing to control every aspect of it. That's what the episodes are about, and that's why Aeon Flux comes in. It was like, I'm sabotaging this because people need to have free will and the ability to be people. And so within that, I mean, for him, it's a utopia, but I guess for everybody else who doesn't want to be part of it, it can be viewed as a dystopia because it's like, you know, they have no control. They're being oppressed. They can't go places. They can't do things that they want to do. But the city is pretty, kind of thing, you know.
But even within their utopia, I thought this was so interesting. I think it was like the first episode. It was probably my favorite episode because he has like the president or whatever captured.
Yes.
And the president is revealed to be like this blithering psychotic idiot, but he's like trying to suppress his will so that he could inject his.
Yes.
And I was just like, so even within his world, like his leader is still a moron.
Yeah. Which is something that we all know too well at this point.
I was like, oh, did you predict this? Is this where we're going?
But I mean, he did use his big gut as a portal to
store a dress.
A store, yeah, it's a storage space, really.
For a purple garment.
Yeah. For it to showcase his love for Aeon Flux. So that whole thing was just weird.
Is that what that was?
Yeah. Well, because that dress was for Aeon Flux. That's what he kept. Every time he went in there, he would just go on about Aeon and the outfit. And then when Aeon found it, she kept going on about, oh, Trevor, you shouldn't have, and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, that whole thing was just weird. It was like the Batman and the Catwoman inappropriate like love relationship and obsession kind of thing. Mind you, Batman and Catwoman got married the other day in the comic book.
Did they?
Yeah, apparently they did. I didn't read it, so I'm not exactly sure how it worked because I'm like, did they take up, like, I know they know who each other's like real people are, but who do you invite to that wedding? Do you
Penguin?
get married as like Batman and Catwoman, or
Obviously.
do you get married as Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle, or is it a weird combination of unmasking in front of people? Like, how does that work exactly? You know, that's very.
All the mothers named Margaret in the DC universe are invited, dead and alive.
Dead. They just like the zombie versions of the dead ones show. They're like, Superman starts to cry. You're like, oh no.
Superman would be there crying anyways.
That is true. I bet you he's a total sap at weddings. I would not be surprised.
He could not keep himself together for that.
No, there is no way.
Lois would just be like, "Oh, get over it."
Yeah, because he is like, what is it? A Boy Scout, right? Like he's into helping people and he's into showing emotions. He's into the whole. But he'll be prepared, so he'll have his box of tissue with him.
Oh yeah.
But he is going to cry like a baby. Right?
Also, Robin's gonna be crying a lot too. I feel like.
Sorry, which one? Which one are we talking about? What is the latest one? Well,
Dick Grayson's dead, right?
No, isn't it Drake that's dead?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, is he Nightwing?
One of them's Nightwing.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the second one's dead because he was killed by the Joker.
Right.
That was the whole Killing Joke thing. Where Joker got all rapey and stuff, which I found which I actually thought was really weird because I know the Joker is psychotic, but he was never sexually psychotic, so I always thought that whole thing was odd.
Yeah.
And the animated version of it was just unpleasant to
yeah, that would be awful. Did Mark Hamill voice that?
Actually, I think he did. Yeah, I think he did. Because there's Drake, then there's the Year One girl, where Robin's like a girl. I
like the new Robin. I think he should, or no, I'm thinking the new Spider-Man. I'm sorry.
Oh. The black guy?
Yeah. The gay black guy. Or is he Puerto Rican?
Is he Puerto Rican? What's his name again?
I can't remember.
Because because there was a big campaign about Donald Glover playing the new Superman, the new Spider-Man, because they wanted him to be that character.
Yeah, it would be great.
And but then he didn't get it, and that's why he got a role in the Spider-Man movie, like when he showed up. Oh. And I was like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. But I mean, I think Donald Glover did pretty good without it, so I'm okay. Because his albums are amazing. That show Atlanta is fantastic. And he's just on
Star
tour.
Wars.
He's in Star Wars, Lando. He's also doing the live action Lion King movie.
Oh yeah, he's fine.
He'll get over it. He's all good.
He'll persevere.
Yeah. He's like at home crying. He's like, but I didn't get Spider-Man. What am I gonna do? But yeah, he'll be good. Aeon Flux. What's going on? Yes.
Oh, so since you brought up sexual perversion, we can transition there. Yeah. So I wondered if, because it's only 10 episodes, and it truly is like the relationship between like her and Trevor, and I'm wondering, I'm like, is this just like an abusive relationship? Like, it's an abusive relationship.
It's abusive and kinky. Like, that's the whole thing. Because
like, I get BDSM, but like, I still think like he's abusing her.
Yes, but she also abuses him in other ways, right? It's a sort of like I hate saying give and take kind of relationship, but either way you look at it, it's not a good relationship that is healthy in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Right?
But I think she like keeps controlling or keeps going back to him because of her abuse by him.
Yeah. Well, because she likes to submit to him.
Yeah.
Right? And he takes advantage of that submission.
He takes advantage of a lot of people.
And then that's the thing. He's used to being on top and in control. And she finds that interesting and alluring, because even when she usually finds people that are used to being on top or in control, they can't control her. She finds out very quickly that they're actually weak people, and she kills them. That's her job. That's what she's supposed to do. But with him, he isn't afraid of her. He's not intimidated by her in any way, shape, or form, and she finds that fascinating and amazing. And she plays with him with it, but like which episode was it? The one where he like clones a perfect version of her.
Yeah.
In that one,
domesticates her.
Domesticates her, and because of it, she gets herself killed.
Yeah.
But
she
like
kills herself, kind of.
She kills herself. Technically, yeah, that's true. She does kill herself, and her cloned version is the one that's left in this world. And the cat and mouse chase that they've been going through just continues in this very strange landscape. I found that whole thing weird.
But I just thought it was strange too that it was like, I guess like it's because the show kind of shoots off in so many different directions. It's like the one consistent thing from week to week is like, how is this gonna play out again?
Yeah, it's like one thing in every episode they are going to meet face to face at some point. They're going to exchange some sort of words. Trevor Goodchild is going to pontificate at the greatness of his existence and his being and the wonderful things he's doing for the society. And she's going to point and laugh at him, and you're like, you're so stupid. And they'll giggle a little bit. Something's going to happen, and she's going to leave. That literally happens in every single episode. So, but it's just trying to figure out how exactly that's going to happen in any way, shape, or form. One thing I found interesting was the titles of the episodes. So like episode 1 was, what is it? Euphoria or Deuteranopia. I don't know what Deuteranopia, I didn't know what that meant. So I looked up, and the definition was color blindness resulting from insensitivity to green light, causing confusion of greens, reds, and yellows. And I spent the whole episode trying to figure out, I'm like, where is that? Where what?
Maybe in the colors? Because like they had the insides of that virtual reality body was all red, and they had like...
Because it was, but apparently it was out of phase with the real world or whatever.
But maybe it was more of a stylistic commentary than a plot-driven one.
Maybe. But I think even stylistically, I would hope that it would be not necessarily more obvious, but there should be a way to, what can I say, deduce the use of the terminology.
I was wondering, so the director and the writer is from Seoul. Mm-hmm. Was this like dubbed? Or were these lines written for English in English?
No, these lines for the MTV show were all done like in English.
Because some of them are really cheesy.
They are very cheesy. But I have a feeling it is a possibility that maybe he wrote them in Korean and then they were translated. That's a possibility.
Like that's what some of it feels like to me. Like just some of the things like that people would say, like, you're an egghead. Like, I was like, those aren't things that people say. Like, I was like, that seems like a stretch to me. That's why I was always wondering. I was like, even the titles, like I never tried to make sense of them because I'm like, I feel like this is like like from the original intended language isn't being represented here, so we'll never really get what's going on.
Actually, that's probably a really good point because that's true. Well, because from the research that I did on the show, which was not overly in depth or anything, like these shows were specifically written, produced, directed, and made for MTV, so it would have been English no matter what, right? But yeah, like there's a total possibility that things at some point were lost in translation in some way, shape, or form. But maybe that's like this was at a point where, you know, Far Eastern animations and style of directing and just like anime in general were becoming popular in North America. Like this is the point where, you know, Pokemon were coming in and Sailor Moon and Rama and a Half and, you know, the incursion of hentai. I said it. Were like permeating into North American culture. So I wonder if this was a chance to be like that bridge point of like the unusual storytelling techniques that we're used to in North America. Yeah. Also the animation style, but it was weird, but it's less weird than some other things that have been presented. You know what I mean?
So maybe it was like trying to replicate the animation or the anime that was being brought and dubbed. So like they were already like, this was like they're replicating the dubbed version of the anime almost.
Maybe. They're like, oh no, we want to keep the style up and like the feel of it.
Yeah.
So
even though it was totally intended to be English, but
yeah.
they're still trying to make it seem that
like
way.
It was like dubbed and changed over.
Because like some of the other titles, and just like there's weird language choices throughout, and I'm just like, oh, like I remember thinking back to the 90s.
Yeah.
like people like trying to embrace like this techno culture language that was not really like established in society yet. Like this is pre-internet, right?
Yeah.
Like like this is before you could illegally download things. So like but people were kind of like techno obsessed. But
yeah, like that's when like movies like Hackers came out.
Exactly.
And they just have so much gibberish in that movie.
Yeah. So like I feel like a lot of the things that are happening even in the titles are just kind of like pseudo techie titles that were like just
really? No, because I mean like some of the titles include like Thanatophobia, which is actually like a fear of death.
But doesn't it sound like if you didn't know what it meant, could it be like a cool techie term?
That is true, actually. You're like, oh, it's Thanatophobia.
Like to me, like that seems like I'm thinking back to like the early goth days on Queen Street in the 90s, and like if you like walked into like one of these goth shops and like looked at a label, it might be named something like that. Like,
yeah. That is very true. Okay, that is absolutely and very true. I'll tell
so
you
it was
right
it was like a cultural, not a phenomenon, but like a desire to have this thing, like trying to understand something. I don't know. They're trying to develop a certain milieu, a literary tradition that had been well established, but not so much in movies and TV,
or even particularly understood.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Because like maybe it was an attempt to be more deep than it actually was.
Yeah.
You know? I think that's one of my problems is because I was sitting there looking at these titles that come up at the beginning of every episode, and then I'm like, oh, I must look for this within the episode that we're looking at. And
you
then
give it too much credit.
I have a feeling so. Based on what you're saying makes complete sense. And I must have been giving way too much to this show, because some of those episodes I literally just like I sat there like gobsmacked, like, what did I just look at? Is there a point to any of this? Oh my god, this is so cheesy. It's things like that.
Well, even like what she's wearing, right? Like she's wearing like a very like BDSM, like leather play, like with the rings, and I was like, so it was like a very stylistic choice, right? Like I actually thought like her outfits were pretty cool and like very like stylish, and like I thought it was interesting that they would represent a female heroine that way. But like, yeah, it was like very like even we see it later on in The Matrix, right? Like it's like this stylistic choice.
But I think the difference between like
low on substance.
Yeah. I mean, so her stylistic choice within the show was very clear. It's because she was being counterculture, right? Because one of Trevor Goldchild's things was outwardly he wanted to repress like sexual fetishisms and you know, dirty talk, and like,
even though he was highly sexual.
Yes. And that's the thing, is his in the show, like his presence towards his public, right? Even though there's a full scene where he's like naked in front of him, he's like, I'm not hiding anything, I'm naked. But he refused to make that whole thing sexualized, right? It was the reporter who then tried to kill him who made it a sexual thing, right? Because there's like a whole scene where she like looks down and kind of like, and then looks back up at him. And then she tries to murder him. But then from that point on, the next reporter that comes in was just like, okay, we're not anything to hide. So she's naked while she's interviewing him. And it's not supposed to be sexualized in any way. But then when you have like Aeon Flux come in and other people, they fetishize and sexualize everything publicly to go against what Good Child is trying to say to society, where you like, it doesn't matter if someone's clothes or they're naked, they're people, they should not be sexualized. But behind closed doors, he has a foot fetish. So yeah. there's all that.
I don't know. I guess I interpreted that a little different because I always thought she was overtly sexual only because it gave her more power to do whatever she wanted, right? Like she could, yeah, like people like would take like a pause before just shooting her, right? Like men would have full conversations with her gun pointed to her head, whereas I feel like had she not been representing herself that way, she would have just been killed.
Yeah. That is also a possibility.
So I feel like she was using it to her advantage because she recognized it was how other people viewed her.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely used it as an advantage for sure to like you said, distract other people or have people underestimate her abilities or her power. But at the same time,
it also threw them through a loop because sometimes that would happen.
Yes, because they were just like, "What are you wearing? What is that? Like, why don't you put on some clothes for a second and then we can fight?" You know, it was one of those things. But like, she had full on discussions where she's like, "I'm wearing this because I don't want to be part of your society." And you saw that change in that episode where she was domesticated, and all of a sudden she was wearing long pants and she was wearing like this big big sweater that like completely desexualized her physique. And then like, because that was an indication that she gave up, she was done, she was conquered, and she became part of the society. If you know, that may have been part of it. That's what I'm going with. Like, I must admit, like, I always remembered the show being kind of weird, but I remember being fascinated by it. But in this rewatch, I was like, this is boring.
Yeah, it was really like slowly paced.
Yes.
And I was actually really surprised by that too. I was like, because they're only 20-minute episodes, and I think it's the combination of the silence within the episodes and the weird like Blade Runner type music that it's just like really like droning and long. It feels long.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. They'd have long periods of silence, then they'd have long periods of just talking, like just dialogue that wasn't even particularly engaging in any way, shape, or form. It was just kind of like witty repartee back and forth. They're like, I'm being smart and I'm being smug, like, ooh. And then you have that like weird synth music happening for 2 seconds, and so then you'd have like these battle sequences with like the synth music, and then the episode would be over, and then it felt like you'd been watching it for an hour, and then you're just like, oh, it's been 19 minutes. Gotcha. Because it took me, those 10 episodes took me like a week and a half to watch. Not because I didn't have time to sit and binge and go through the whole thing. It's because it just felt like so long. Like, I'd watch 2 episodes and I'd be like, it's been days. Oh my God. And then, I was just like, I can't look at these anymore.
Yeah, the pacing is like really, although like that's what modern day like sci-fi directors are aspiring to do, like is like draw that pacing out. But it's interesting, like, in these early days of experimental like sci-fi anime for a North American audience, that the pacing is so long. I'm like, I thought it would be like immediately like bang, 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 like action, 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 action.
That's true. Yeah. That's definitely one of the things I think that's the thing that stuck with me was the action sequences. So I was expecting them to be a lot more, but then you realize, no, each episode only had one action sequence really. And then the rest of it was just kind of like a tete-a-tete, like who's gonna outsmart who and what is she actually going to do this episode, that kind of thing.
Cat and mouse, aren't they?
But I mean, like, I find that kind of pacing reminds me specifically of like Blade Runner, for example, like the 80s one and the 2049 that came out last year, where I think they managed to, that elongated pacing, they managed to perfect the timing where it still seems long, but it doesn't seem tiring.
Right, yeah.
You know? Whereas with this, it's like, it's done not in a way that you're just like it feels long and like you feel drained after you watch an episode. You're just like, oh my God, finally it's done.
I also really feel like, and this is not with any irony, but like, this was made for a stoner audience. Like, like that, like so many choices, like the fact that they're like there's discrepancies from episode to episode in terms of like Aeon being alive or not.
Yeah.
Like she dies, she doesn't die, what's happening. But like those kinds of things and like just like weird visual things that would kind of trip you out if you were watching it stoned. Like it seems like a true intention of the, along with being like pretend dubbed, like no, these people are blazing. They're eating a bag of Doritos right now. We're gonna F with their minds a little bit.
They're like, look, okay, this chick is genetically enhanced. Her feet are hands.
I know.
Okay. And then when she's trying to escape from the room, like the things are gonna shoot out from the front and the back, and she's gonna like go up on these ropes. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be awesome.
She's gonna slide down the rope on her feet, and it's like gonna look so cool and badass. And look at her boobs. It's like anti-gravity right there.
Oh god, those boobs would kill people in
They're
general.
so pointy.
They're so doesn't that go back to like 1950s and 60s?
Yeah,
hosiery?
those bullet bras.
Yeah, that were just like very angular, and you see like in all those like pin-up pictures and like Marilyn Monroe pictures.
And I think
and all that
even
kind of stuff.
like Madonna at that time was going through her bullet bra phase.
Yes, yeah, because that was who did that? That was Jean-Paul Gaultier did her designs for that kind of thing. But it was
a nice pull.
Yeah, but it was like it was purposefully retro at a certain point, because that was the time she did videos like Express Yourself and stuff, where she does throw back to, you know, the glamour of the silver screen, and she does like the wavy 1940s hair, and she does like the who's the lady that did like, she was the first woman who did like the man suits.
Chanel?
No, like she was a movie star. She's in the Express
Greta
Yourself
Garbo?
video. Was that Greta Garbo? She had like the cigarettes and like the long thing.
That's her.
Was that Greta Garbo? Okay, so it may have been Greta Garbo that I'm thinking of. But yeah, she was hearkening to like that time period of like, it was pseudo revolution, but also an obsession with looks and beauty at the same time, you know, where it's like you fall down to a certain aspect of society, but are going against another certain part of society. Because in those images of Greta Garbo and her suits and her cigarettes and all that kind of stuff, she's made up, like her face is very feminine, it's very beautiful, but at the same time, she's wearing a suit and she's in control, you know? So there's a juxtaposition of how exactly are you supposed to feel about this outfit, or this look, or this attitude. It's a thing.
Nice.
Yes. I watched a lot of videos back in the day.
Yeah, I think that was part of the 90s culture. Like, this is pre-YouTube.
Yeah.
This is like...
I mean, I regularly, in Toronto, it was all about, really, it was MuchMusic, unless you had, like, paid satellite cable, and then you get MTV.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used to go home and sit down, and we used to watch MTV, watch music videos, and be like, did you see that new one by this person? Or did you see this new one by this person? Oh my god, that was so cool! Yeah, and people, I mean, like with any generation of music lovers, there are definitely groups that put less effort into it than others, but there were definitely iconic videos out there where people are just like, they put stories into it, and like, I mean, I guess Michael Jackson or Aerosmith are actually really well known for their music videos are full stories.
Guns N' Roses,
beginning to end. Guns N' Roses did the same thing, but they made these like epic music videos that were like full stories beginning to end, and they culminate correctly with the different points of the song and all that kind of stuff. And then you have like Korn, Freak on a Leash, that's cool animated video. Like I mean, I must admit, I know this song because of the video. Yeah. Like, people are just like, you need to watch this music video. It's really, really cool. The song is kind of crap.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
But the music video itself, like the animation style and the stuff they do with it, is
even
really
the Linkin Park
cool.
videos.
Linkin Park's videos, yeah. There were just so many out there that you just saw these really cool things done in them. And they were fascinating at that point in time. But yeah, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have like Instagram and Snapchat and to occupy our space and time and whatever. And,
or even like immediate culture. Like, that was like snippets of immediate culture. And then, like, yeah, you would go to school every day, and, well, after you watch videos, and you watch Friends.
Yeah.
And then you would go to school the next day and you talk to everyone about it. And so it was like, it was still kind of shared in a sense. Like, it was still like the same experience that we were all having. So it was like very relatable that way.
Yeah. It was never like, oh my God, did you see this video? No, I didn't. It was, you saw this? Were you watching?
Of course I saw it.
Of course I saw it.
Of course I saw Lake Biscuits break stuff. Like,
because
Pauly Shore is in that.
We were all sitting in front of the TV at 5 p.m. yesterday, and the music videos were on, and that's the video that we all saw at the same time, right? And if you said no to that, people were just like, what were you doing? You're like, my mom made me go to the grocery store. It was, and then you couldn't, it wasn't recorded. You couldn't go Google it or anything. It was like, if you missed it, you missed it.
Yeah,
and that was it. And it sucked.
You had to wait like a whole week to see it again sometimes.
That was the worst. I hated that because as soon as you miss, there was no like TiVo or PVRing or.
Oh, you could record it with your VCR, but like
if you were lucky.
Like there was also like it was access to like multiple dollar store days, so like you could just buy copious amounts of VHS. You had like 2 if you were lucky, and like then one of them had your recording of Never Ending Story, and so you weren't gonna record over that.
Personally, mine was Aladdin.
Oh,
thank you.
Yeah,
it was Aladdin. Yeah. And I was really pissed off when my brother recorded over that because I was livid. Absolutely. I can't even remember what he recorded over. I just remember screaming about like, because he recorded over the first like, I think it was the first half hour.
Oh, brutal.
And I was just like, what is wrong with you? Why would you do this? Because it was like, as soon as you got to the movie, it was the part where he was first going into the Cave of Wonders.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, yeah, I understand this is where all like the quote unquote good stuff starts, but
still.
The Street Rat song is gone. Like, I love that song. Riff Raff, Street Rat. Like, that song is amazing. It's a whole thing. It was very upsetting. But yeah, like, yeah, those were hard times. How did we make it through?
Hard times. I don't know. How did we?
I have no idea. It was a very difficult time period, and all you young people out there, you should be very happy that you can just go online and look up things so easily and find whatever you're looking for.
But also right now it's like a tyranny of choice, right? Like there's so many options, like how it's difficult to discern what's good, right? Like I also feel like the reason why this show may be a little bit nostalgic for you and I is only because we're able to recognize now, like the influences of it. Yes. Like it obviously was like stylistically very influential, and like I feel like even things we're watching now, like Altered Carbon and like maybe even Westworld, but Westworld was also from the 70s, so but like it had like it obviously like it's a part of like a very informed like sci-fi genre in North America.
It's super specific, it's like that obsession with the future. It's not that it's just a place that we won't understand because we don't understand the technology, but it's a place that's just weird.
And I like that it harkens to that, you already mentioned it, but like that turn of the century detective fiction style, because it's like, every layer is corrupt, privacy is no longer available, you live under repression and control.
You realize everything you're saying is relevant to like right now.
Well, yeah, but those are identifiable themes like in our realities. Like, well, it just even makes us much more aware as consumers of like content and media, like to like kind of expose our weaknesses. So like those at the time, like were presented without irony and really even understanding what the near future held in store. So it was like, I just think that's really cool.
Well, yeah, because one of the, like I mentioned before with Trevor Goldchild, he was like, I don't want to hide anything from anybody, and neither should you. And the society was like, I agree with you, and that's allowed him to put literally video cameras everywhere, right? But that's the thing with our society right now. I can go outside, if I go in my elevator, there's a camera. If I go in my lobby, there's a camera. If I go outside, there's a camera on the outside of the building. I walk down the street and you can see cameras in places. People have cameras on their phone. They'll start recording things if they think it's wrong or right or amazing or whatever. So you can't go about society without being recorded. I'm probably in videos and pictures from millions of people just by happening to be passing by at a certain time or walking through something or just being in a certain place. And like at that point in time, like in the early 90s, I would have been like, that's crazy. But it's part of my daily life right now is that people will see you no matter what.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, no, I don't have like a bunch of cameras. Actually, technically I do, because I'd have a camera on my camera on my phone. I have a camera on my computer and my laptop, you know? There are cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
And I remember in the 90s, I thought that was just like, oh, that's crazy. I would never, and blah, blah, blah. But here's where we are.
And even like some of the other concepts, like they have virtual reality, they have like technological devices that have like autonomy, cloning. This was pre-cloning.
Yes.
And they do cloning, and they talk about body modification and like I just like all these principles that are like now realistic things that do happen in our societies. And like, yeah, it's kind of the most extreme representation of that, but but like this wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. I mean, it was 27 years ago, and I mean, technically that's almost a generation, because what a generation is every, 20 years or 40 years?
I think 20 years.
20 years, yeah. So it's actually more than a generation, technically. Yeah. But within that generation, like, things have escalated so quickly. Like, they've, computing technology, like, in 1991, I had, there's no way I would be able to do this.
Yeah.
In 1991, even though you think it's relatively simple. It's a microphone attached to a computer. You're good to go. But no, in
even
the 90s,
forum, yeah,
who are you? Who is listening to a podcast?
Are we uploading it to a bulletin board system?
Or something that's going to take like 6 hours or 12 hours to download?
Like 47 hours.
Oh, that's true. It used to be days.
Like for one song. It used to be like 3 days to download
for like a 3-minute song. That's true. This would be like a month and a half to download. And I remember the first time that we downloaded like a movie, and it took like a day and a half. We're like, that is so fast. Oh my God. Whereas now, if something takes more than 3 seconds to download, you're like, I'm not doing this clip. I'm getting what? No. Like, I mean, I turn on my computer and like, it's less than half a second, and I get angry. And I'm like, why aren't you on yet? Whereas we used to like press on and walk away and make breakfast and then, chat with some people and come back, and then the window screen would finally come on. You're like, yay, you're on. It was a whole thing. You just put up with it. But now, that thinking about the amount of time that you spend waiting for technology back in the day, just seems ludicrous now, right?
Well, even like, it's kind of another point to like the pacing issue, right? Yeah. Like nowadays, like I won't watch a video on YouTube that's over 3 minutes. Yeah. Like I just like, if this is over 3 minutes, I'm not watching it, even though it's instantly accessible.
Yeah.
But like at the time this show was made, like you couldn't access that kind of content. And I'm like, and if you could, you probably would, and you would wait 7 days to do that.
Yeah. And that's the thing that's hilarious.
Because like our videos, we'd wait a whole week to watch like 5 minutes of the one video that we wanted to see.
Yeah. And then that's exactly what I mean. It was such a hard time. I'm gonna tell you.
Well, it's just different, right? Like it's interesting to see how like even our choices, like unless we stop to think about it, like the immediacy and the variety of things, like it was just so limited, and like the content now is like I feel like tenfold, and it should be better, quite frankly. Yeah. Maybe that's the next stage we're going into, but like now we have more content and like instant accessible, so it's just a matter of like how do we spend our time, our limited time.
Well, is it the fact that like I think maybe the problem is that content is so easy to make that no matter how crappy it is, it still gets made and put out there and people are going to see it. Whereas because things took effort back in the day, I'm not saying that there wasn't garbage, because there was garbage out there. But because it took so much effort to make, you were more likely to see quote unquote good quality content than bad content. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Maybe that was just our opinion of the time, though. Because there was a lot of crap.
No, I am not denying the fact that there was a lot of crap out there. But I think because it took effort and time and you couldn't just go back and watch something else, you took less of a chance on a new show than a show you were used to watching. Because you couldn't just flip back and restart an episode, or you couldn't just go find it online or like streaming somewhere. You're like, these two shows are on. This is a show I know and I love. Am I going to miss this episode for this new show that could possibly be good? But if it's going to be on at the same time in the future, then it's going to be trouble because then I have to pick one.
Right.
That's
why I stopped watching Sliders.
First of all, you have to say it like this. Sliders.
I stopped watching Sliders. It started showing the same time as X-Files. I was like, I'm out.
Oh, yeah. I dropped that like a ton of bricks. I was like, what do you think? X-Files compared to Sliders? Are you even in the crappy seasons? I still would have picked X-Files over Sliders, yes.
And it was still like late on a Friday night too.
Yeah, it was 9 p.m. on a Friday.
Yeah.
And I restarted watching Sliders when X-Files moved to Sunday nights.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what is happening?
But it was bad by then.
Yeah. Well, because they got Jerry O'Connell left and his brother came back and replaced him. And I didn't see those like in between episodes because it was all at the same time as X-Files. and I was just like, who's that? That looks like a Walmart version of Jerry O'Connell. I'm really sorry. But I was just like, who is this guy? And then I heard about him getting replaced with his brother because he left the show. And what is it? Jonathan Rhys-Davies left the show and they replaced him with like a different guy. And the girl was different and
she died. The first girl died.
Yeah.
In the show.
And then there was like there's one friend that was the same, and I was just like, so this is the same show, but who are all these people and why is this so weird now? But it was always like I find that show just reminded me of Quantum Leap.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, you're just going through
a cheesy remake of Quantum Leap. I could never watch Discovery because I was like, hey, it's the Quantum Leap guy.
You're talking about Enterprise.
Oh, sorry, Enterprise.
Yes. Don't be jealous of Scott Bakula, please. Personally, I've been rewatching Enterprise because they showed it on TV every day during the week. They show episodes from one of the series of Star Trek, which makes my day because I get to sit there and watch at least 2 episodes a day of, the original series or Next Generation or Voyager or Deep Space Nine and Enterprise. And Enterprise specifically, I never used to watch that show simply because I get the cold open. I'm like, ooh, this looks interesting.
It's been a long road.
God. And then I would change the channel when the stupid intro song came on because I hated it so much.
I got faith.
It's so bad though. But and even like the visuals for it and everything is just horrible.
Bryan Adams singing a Rod Stewart song? Like,
is that what it is?
Yes.
I've never even looked into it because I just hated it. And what would happen is I would change the channel and then forget the rest of the show. So I just never watched the show because of something as stupid as a really bad intro song.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I couldn't get over Scott Bakula. I'm just like, nope, I can't suspend my disbelief for one moment.
But he has a beagle dog named Porthos that's adorable.
Oh, sorry, I never got that far.
I
listened to the theme song and then I was like, I'm out.
Yeah, no. I understand that completely. But usually when I get home, they're past the theme song, so about half an hour in, I don't know what's happening in the episode. But then I watch the second half of the episode and I'm like, it's actually pretty good. It's not that bad. But also, what's her name? Who's the Vulcan on it? Oh my god, I should know this off the top of my head. But anyway, she's the worst Vulcan ever.
I think you need your own Star Trek podcast. It's going to be your secondary podcast.
I know.
Trek Talks with Tracy.
I don't know, but the thing is, when it comes about, I don't want to talk about, the whole series or whatever. I just want to talk about, random shit in the Star Trek universe. I just like it. I just like Star Trek. It's a thing. Yeah. The other day, somebody asked me, so, based on your last episode, which was about Indiana Jones, you like Indiana Jones better than Star Trek. I'm like, I don't think so, because I have a feeling that I've mentioned happened to have mentioned Star Trek in every episode. But even, I don't even bring it up first. Other people bring it up first. So, I just kind of keep it going at that point in time because I get really excited. And it's Star Trek after all. I mean, come on, there's lots to talk about.
Yeah. I was just this week just having a fulsome conversation with Jeff about the LDS reference. And how you remember when Spock in the which one is it? A Voyage Home? No.
The third one? Like
the third one.
Search for Spock.
No, when they go back to Earth to get the whale.
Yeah, Voyage Home, yeah.
A Voyage Home. Yeah. And so he's like there's some kind of reference to them taking LDS in the 60s.
LSD.
No, but he says LDS.
Does he really?
Yeah, and so and people on certain internet communities thinks he means Church of Latter-day Saints, and that's the joke. And I'm like, no, it's LSD is the joke. It's not.
Oh my god.
Reddit people.
I love people. They're so great. It's amazing.
But I just like, well, these are obviously Church of Latter-day Sainters. They're like, nobody ever talks about us. We gotta take this one thing from this one Star Trek episode or movie.
Yeah.
And make it ours.
To make it half an episode, like it's like 2 seconds in the movie. And then you're just like, yes, everything's about us now. It's
finally
amazing.
All right, someone talked about this. Validates everything. Get your black badges on, boys. We're hitting the streets. Shut up your shoes.
Did you hear what Bones said about us in that movie? That's why we're here.
We're the LDS. We're the LDS. That's us.
So then wouldn't it be like CLDS?
Yeah, technically.
But they're just going with LDS.
Well, I don't know. Certain branches of it go by LDS, Latter-day Saints.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Good to know. I did not know about that. And I find that fascinating.
There's your random Star Trek tip of the week.
And I keep saying fascinating like I'm a Vulcan, so it's fine.
Fascinating.
I know.
Also, if this is the other thing, I can compare both of them. From Discovery, the girl from Discovery, the Vulcan. Like, I feel like if I ever...
She's not actually Vulcan, she was just raised by Vulcans.
I know. But she identifies culturally as a Vulcan.
Yes.
It's nuanced.
Yes.
I feel like if I ever met her in real life, like, she'd just be so irritated with me that she'd probably kill me.
Wait, the character or the actress?
The character.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yes.
Yeah, because she's kind of badass, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's kind of like, she's still emotional, like she's still human. So I'm like, I feel like she would kill me in real life. I also feel that way about Aeon.
Oh yeah, she'd hate me.
She would, like we would
me.
not be friends. Like, if anything, like I would mispronounce her name once, and she would most definitely kill me.
Are you Aeon Flux? No, it's Aeon.
Exactly.
Damn it.
Like, ugh, I'm dead.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't even get a word out. She'd be one of the people who would, like, she wouldn't even stop. She's like, I'm just shooting everybody. Like, you're just in the way.
You're just...
There you go.
I'm just trying to play cat and mouse with my abusive boyfriend.
Yeah, so, like, I don't understand what you don't know.
Why are you existing right now?
I mean, the second episode of the show is pretty much that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where...
The girl with the back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing is I watched the first episode of the show and it did not click, except for the fact that I recognized Aeon Flux in it. It didn't click anything in my brain from seeing it before. And I was just like, I've seen this before? I know I had seen it before, but I was like, I saw this before? The second episode, that's the episode that when I think about Aeon Flux, that's what pops into my brain.
That's what you remember?
That is specific episode, because especially that last sequence when she jumps through and she gets caught in the rope and she her
legs get cut off?
That is the thing that I remember being like, oh my god. Like, this is a crazy society. That is psychotic. This is blowing my mind. What is going on? And like the things that they put in her like those little
the body
cartridges
mods?
Or whatever.
I guess that was supposed to be her spinal fluid.
Yeah, and then you like pop it out like you have to
cartridge.
Replace it. Yeah. And I just found like the image of that was just like in my brain. But it was also super creepy.
Yeah, like that scene where it's Trevor that comes over to operate on her back, right? Mm-hmm. So is that scene supposed to be sexual?
Yes.
Because like I didn't interpret it that way at all.
Really?
No.
That whole thing where he puts the thing in there and she's like, oh, it's supposed to be sexual.
I thought he was like taking pleasure from her pain. Like,
no, but she's also taking pleasure from it.
Is she though?
Yeah.
Well,
because what happens is because so this part's really gross, but remember she was meeting her like ex-boyfriend who's on the other side of the wall in like that hole in it or whatever where the train comes through, and there's a scene in it where they finish.
Oh,
and
right.
she comes back and she's like, it's not the same. And then she calls him to come back to do it to her again. The thing in her back, right?
Oh, okay.
I was watching that, I'm like, that is
But that's
disgusting.
also a sign of like an abused relation, like someone who's been in some like an abusive relationship.
But if you watch that episode, it's like the episode of those two people. I don't remember what their names are. But those two people, he is horrible to her, but she is obsessed with him.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I find frustrating about the whole series is that in every single episode, there is a woman who is obsessed with a man and takes ridiculous amounts of abuse from him, but still was like, I want you and I love you and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, that's not... Because even in Aeon's whole thing, even though it's like a cat and mouse and... You know, they chatter back and forth, and they're just like, oh, I'm up here, and oh, I'm down here, and blah, blah, blah. It's still gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, their relationship is gross.
I was waiting for that moment, but I guess like even in the opening title sequence, they basically tell you like this is going to be about him and her and their relationship the whole time. Yeah. But I still was like waiting for that moment. I'm like, but when is it not? Like, cause like I'm sure she's a fascinating character, right? Like she's kind of like, you don't really know if she's a hired assassin or a hired mercenary, or like she's working with people and people are asking
and like a rebellion or something.
Yeah, and so like she has a fascinating story without him, and I'm like, I don't know. I would have liked to see, but even in the movie, I feel like, oh, we won't have to bring about the movie. Do you have the movie? Are you going to talk about the movie later?
I am not going to be talking about the movie later, and if we did, we'd be putting it together because I don't want to have to do Aeon Flux twice, especially with that movie. Definitely not. But yeah, like. Well, I know, since you brought up the movie, I will admit this, like, whoever made the movie did not understand the actual concepts of the show, and then they tried to dumb it down to a level that would be palatable to, like, basic audiences, that it just lost anything that would have made it interesting.
Oh, yeah, it's not interesting at all. Nope. It's barely forms a memory in my mind.
Yeah, because one of the things I remember is that, like, I mean... I don't think Charlize Theron was bad casting, and I don't think I forgot the guy who plays Trevor Goodchild, but he also plays the bad guy in Equilibrium. I think is that the same guy? Maybe, not 100% sure. I might be wrong. But anyways, I don't think the film was badly cast. I just think everything within the film besides the casting is wrong. There you go. I said it.
Well, it's just like, I don't know. It's very like it was writing. So it was in a time. It was because it was early 2000s, right? That movie was made. Or was it even later than that?
It may have been even later than that.
So like it's in a time. So it's being transposed to a time where a number of the core concepts introduced in the series are like now they're reality. Like we're cloning. VR, like these are real now. 2005. Yeah. And so and like we had like a number of very sophisticated like sci-fi movies since that time, like you know, Matrix, and lots of stuff was happening. Like all the really bad Star Wars movies were made.
Oh my god.
But yes. Like still like it was a golden moment for sci-fi. And then they made this, and it was just so bad. Like, well, I think I can only equate it to like The Ghost in the Shell, right? Which is like a really good core material, but executed poorly as a movie.
Yes. That's the thing. Like I found that movie. It has the Zack Snyder problem, right? Where they are so obsessed with the visuals of it that they forget everything else. Yeah. So the movie is visually pretty. It's beautiful to look at. Screenshot any point of it, it's a wallpaper. It's amazing. It's beautiful. But then as soon as people start talking or there's quote unquote the plot to look at, you're just like, it's not doing anything. Like it's just not even trying.
It's falling apart.
Yeah. And then that's the problem with the Aeon Flux movie as well. Like, they were so obsessed with capturing certain visuals that they're just like, how can we make it so that she does a backflip over here? Let's have this thing happen. And you're just like, but that doesn't do anything for the plot. And you're just like, it doesn't matter.
Stylistically gorgeous.
Yes. Everything else, pointless. Completely pointless.
2.5 hour long music video.
Also, I was wrong. The guy who played Trevor Goodchild was not in Equilibrium.
Oh.
It's fine. Thank you, IMDb. See, this is what I'm telling you. If this was 1991 when this came out, never been able to do it.
No.
But yeah, like,
we were also 11 or 10 at this time.
Yeah.
How were we watching this?
Look,
how were we allowed to?
I will admit this. Like, my parents were. It's not that I didn't go to bed at a reasonable time. They weren't all about like, you have a bedtime.
Okay.
Like, it wasn't like, no, it's 8 o'clock, get ready, go to bed, go to sleep, blah, blah, blah. No, it was just like, we have a busy life. My parents worked, we went to school, we were latchkey kids, which is that still a term right now?
I'm sure, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, sure.
I just haven't heard it in a long time, because they used to have it on like news reports, and they had a whole story on 60 Minutes. I remember this because my dad used to watch 60 Minutes every single Sunday, 7 p.m. We did it before we watched like Martin and stuff. It was fun. So very clear memory. But yeah, like, it used to be like the term latchkey kid was like this epidemic in like the 90s and stuff like that. I remember that very specifically. And so we were latchkey kids. We'd come home, we'd have our key, and we'd go inside, me and my brother, and we'd wait till our parents came home. And our parents would come home, we'd sit and do, like, cook dinner, sit and do homework, watch some TV. And of course, like, maybe, you know, if it got late, like if it got like 11 or 12 o'clock, they'd be like, okay, time to go to bed, blah, 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 blah. But we never really had like bedtimes. And I don't think it just made sure that we had family time. We had time to eat together. We had time to do our homework and all that kind of stuff. But it was never anything ridiculous. Like, we didn't go to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and wake up at 7. We were kids. We'd get tired early. We just go to bed, you know.
I think I remember like beating my parents down over the issue of like, I really wanted to watch Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And so I was determined I was going to stay up every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And then like once they accepted that fact, that it was like, there were no more limits for me. Like,
yeah.
I could just start doing whatever not whatever I wanted, but yeah, I would often be up until 2 a.m. watching TV.
Well, on the weekends, for sure. Because for example, I remember watching that Tracy Ullman episode when they first premiered The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
In 1989. That would have been at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning because it was late night television.
Yeah.
You know, I remember watching Madonna on David Letterman. Like, that's late night television, right?
Yeah, Letterman. I love Letterman.
Yeah. So
that
like
was at 11 o'clock.
Yeah. So like on the weekends and stuff, it was fine. Not a big problem. Like on Saturday nights, I think it was the ploy of my parents to be like, they're going to sleep in tomorrow morning. It'll be fine. You know, but like during the week, that it's at least try to make sure that we got the correct amount of sleep. But on the weekends, it's like, it's your time off. Do whatever you need to do. Just get your homework done and don't be rude. That's it. You know, it was those two things. Or the other thing was like, I never had a curfew. But I better be home before the street lights came on. That was it. So during summer, it was beautiful. Street lights come on at like 10 o'clock because that's when the sun goes down. During the winter, that sucks because the street lights are coming 6.
Oh, 3.
3, yes. Come straight home after school. That was it. There was no going out during the winter. That was not a thing, you know? But yeah, like we never had like proper curfews and like bedtimes and stuff. But I think that kind of worked to our benefit, I guess.
You consume so much culture.
That it explains a lot. It explains so much. Oh my god. I was like, how did you watch 48 hours of TV in 3 days? I'm like, well, So what I did was, I mean, I'd be home at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, watch TV till like midnight, while doing homework or something. I still managed to get good grades. Not even just decent. They were pretty good. And still got all my TV in, so I'm all right. Yeah. I mean, there were compromises. There were things that, I didn't watch. Like, one thing that a lot of people watched, you probably did. Like, no, maybe you didn't. Married with Children?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Everyone watched that.
No.
No?
Not in my house. That was not allowed in my house. Not at all. Okay, so that was one I understand it. I know the characters.
Oh, we weren't allowed to watch Roseanne.
Really? My mom I watched all kinds of Roseanne.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My mom hated The Simpsons as well, but my dad
Really?
really liked it, so we got to watch it.
Oh, funny.
Of course, she hated South Park. Like, they both did. They absolutely hated it. And one time, me and my brother sat her down and was like, look, the show is, it's specifically sarcastic, and it emphasizes ridiculous parts of our society to show how stupid things are. That's the whole point. Me and my brother sat my mom down, and it just happened to be the episode where Jesus and the devil get into a fight, which is actually the first episode of the show, I think. And it was just on like reruns or whatever. And she was like, this show is blasphemous. Don't ever put this on in our house again. And so, I mean, I got to watch South Park because at that point in time I was old enough to be like, I can watch whatever I want. But at the same time, I had to hide that. It was fine.
I wasn't allowed to watch anything, like when I was a child, anything that referred to like magic. Mm-hmm. So like Bewitched, I couldn't watch.
Really?
Yeah, and like I Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah. I didn't think...
it was blasphemous, and it was like religiously problematic for my parents. But I'm like, dude, like there's nothing wrong with this show. Yeah. And I was like, fine, I will turn to harder, and also like they picked the exact wrong moment to deter me away from magic, because fantasy was just like this burgeoning other world of like, and literary fantasy, like A Wrinkle in Time, like, oh, you're never bringing me back now. I'm jumping to hardcore sci-fi. Like, I was like, oh, you picked your wrong. That was the wrong fight. Where, I could have just been watching Bewitched.
Yeah, because that was the point in time where books like that were coming into like I know Lord of the Rings had been out for at least like a decade and a half. Yeah. But, like, its popularity was growing at that point in time. And like you said, like, A Wrinkle in Time came out. And, like, George R. R. Martin started writing, like, the whole Lord of the Rings books and stuff, which did take a long time to get that momentum. But even by the time I picked them up, they were considered huge books, that people, like, the world people loved.
And even fantasy in movies, like, like Never Ending Story, like I think that's kind of like a much more, not dangerous, but like if you don't want to like promote an overactive imagination in a child, like maybe Bewitched wasn't so bad.
Exactly. Well, because it was silly and it was frivolous, and you could walk away from it like, that's stupid. But then when you have like these epic worlds that are well built and interesting characters and stuff, and you like dive into it, and that's what happened with like Harry Potter and stuff that came out much later, where you have kids, there are Quidditch leagues in universities, man, where grown adults, legal adults I should say, run around in a field with a broomstick between their legs running after a little ball. Okay. I mean, technically it's not more ridiculous than any other sport, technically, but at the same time you're just like, really, Quidditch, guys? Quidditch? This is what we're doing right now? Okay.
Well, it just shows, like, I don't know, the human desire, like, will, like, expand out to its limits, right? Yeah. Like, especially when something's specifically been told of like, oh, this is forbidden and you can't access this information and restriction to access. I think that's maybe why we're so a little bit like TV and movie obsessed, just because like we kind of did experience this weird restriction growing up, because even though we had like access to content and for long hours, it wasn't necessarily the content we wanted to access.
That's true. Yes, that is very true.
And so like, and so in a way you're still kind of hungry for what you really want, and what you really like will feel satisfied with.
Well, I think too at that time period, because it was such a burgeoning way of doing things, sci-fi and fantasy were really getting their foothold into culture. at that point, like, I find, like, before that point in time, like, sci-fi and fantasy, except for, like, a, a few minor instances, they were really relegated to, like, kid stuff. Like, look at comic books, for example.
Yeah.
Until the late 70s, maybe early 80s and stuff, they were never actually taken seriously. They were for children. Whereas now, yeah, there are kids that read comic books, but, like, the market is adults. They're like, this is content from my childhood, or this is adult content for right now, and these are interesting, complex stories that, instead of just being words on a page, we get, like, that gratification of that visualization right away, which is beautiful and amazing. But at the same time, it's gone from being just for kids to being for a spectrum of people. And it was the same thing with sci-fi and fantasy. Sci-fi and fantasy was relegated to stuff for kids and silly spaceships and, oh, look at the guy from the future, what a nerd. Well, now it's like, it's a billion-dollar industry, and it's everywhere. And if you're not into sci-fi and fantasy, now you're considered to be part of, like, that back culture, you know, like that relegated to the darkness. It's like, you didn't watch the new Marvel movie? What's wrong with you? You know? Whereas
what rom-com are you watching?
Exactly. Whereas back then you're like, oh, I watched the Superman movie. You're just like, really? Now it's like, you didn't watch the Superman movie? What's wrong with you? You know, it's, well, I can't use Superman right now because those movies are horrible. But that's a completely different topic. It's fine.
Wonder Woman.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I find, like, I don't know, I guess it makes me feel old when I think about it, kind of. Like, the amount of changes that have happened. Like, I remember in high school, people used to make fun of me because I collected comic books, and I read comic books, and I loved comic books. And I used to watch lots of movies and all that kind of stuff. They're just like, you're such a dork. I'm like, okay.
I don't know, I was quite young when I found the path to Asimov. I think it was like probably 8 or 9. And like I was just addicted, and it was like hopelessly, like, I read everything, like Dune, like just incredibly young, and then I was into it ever since. And so I feel like my dreams are finally, like, unfolding before my, like, in this day and age, when there's just so much content, and there's so much, like, and it's good content, and it's, like, incredibly, and it's well thought out, and sometimes it's based in literary, and I'm just like, oh my god, it's all happening. But then at the same time, it's like, too much, I can't consume it all. Like,
that's one of my biggest problems. Yeah, because I literally, like, so I'm a person who literally has a list. You know, like, when people are just like, oh, I need to watch it, I'll put it on my list. No, I pull out my phone. There is a list that I have put together of, like, TV shows and movies and stuff that I need to watch. I also have a book list of stuff that I need to go read and everything. And these lists just keep getting longer and longer and longer because there's so much stuff. And I just don't have time, but I want to watch all of it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a real problem at the same time. Like, it's a good problem to have. You know what I mean?
Like, it's even like my primary, so, like, this is just a funny, weird example, but I love The Walking Dead, and I'm, like, obsessed with, like, the comic book and the TV show, and, like, but I find I'm, like, trying to pace myself with the TV show because it's very emotional and, like, and quite graphic. But last night I went to go see A Star Is Born, and Bradley Cooper is stylized and speaks like Rick for a majority of the movie, and I was, like, just waiting, even though the movie is not about zombies.
Yeah, you're just waiting for one to jump in.
The whole time, I was like, there's going to be a zombie. There's going to be a zombie any moment. Prepare yourself for the zombie. I know Lady Gaga is singing right now, and she is not in The Walking Dead. Yeah. But nothing can convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
Right now.
And, like, a makeup artist is going to, like, jump out of the background and bite her, and then she turns to Bradley Cooper, like, you're like, no, and the shotgun comes out. You're just like, where's my sheriff hat?
That would have been a better ending to the movie. If they had just married, like, that is like my predominant train of thought. Like, I couldn't even, like, subside my thinking for a moment. It's just like, no, you're watching A Star Is Born, which is a remake of a remake of a remake of the Barbara Streisand and the Judy Garland and, like, a million versions.
There was a Judy Garland?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I think, like, a jazz singer. I think that one is like in the 50s.
Okay.
And there's a 1930s version.
I didn't know. I only know about the Barbara Streisand one. That's what I was. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
there's so many remakes of that movie.
Okay.
But like even though I knew that. Like I knew that. Like even as I'm watching, I know this, but I'm like, there is a zombie.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god.
There was no zombie.
Aww.
But even still, if I probably would watch it, I will think that there will be one.
Yeah, if you look closely in the background, you can see the start of it. I'm telling you. Yeah.
And it also doesn't help that there's an actor in that movie who plays the older brother, and I'm pretty sure he's in a zombie movie. So I'm like, no, I know this. You're in that George Romero movie, 100%.
Oh my god, now I have to look this up.
No, it's what's his name? Pretty sure it's the same actor who was on that ranch show with Ashton Kutcher.
What?
It's like a terrible Netflix show.
I haven't watched it. I know what you're talking about, but I have not looked at it at all.
He's like this prolific actor. He's in everything.
It's not Sam Elliott, is it?
Yeah.
Is he in a zombie movie?
I'm sure he is.
I know he's in like Coen Brothers movies. He's in a bunch of war movies.
He's in everything. I'm sure he's in a zombie movie.
He's also in that he plays the Marlboro Man in the Thank You for Smoking movie.
Oh yeah.
And he dies of cancer.
Yeah. Well,
shocker.
Suitably.
I like looking.
But if anything, if he's not in a zombie movie, he has a look and feel of a
he's
zombie
in Roadhouse.
Sorry, Roadhouse?
Yes. Yeah. No, that's just the Patrick Swayze.
Oh, he is in that movie.
I don't know why I got that excited about that knowledge, but yeah, there it is. Yeah, but based on the title, I don't think any of these ones are. He has a lot of acting credits, though. My goodness. 99 acting credits.
Wow.
Jeez.
Other weird fun fact about A Star is Born, Andrew Dice Clay plays Lady Gaga's dad.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes. I was so completely distracted by that. I was like, when's he gonna just drop the F-bombs? And
I also greatly dislike Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh, he's terrible. Like his comedy, do you remember how bad his comedy was? Like it was just entirely misogynistic and awful, and it was just like he was fairly okay in the movie, and so was Chris Chappelle. Chris Chappelle was in the movie too, and I was like, is Bradley Cooper just buds with a bunch of like weird, outdated stand-ups?
Yeah,
like,
and he was just like, hey, I'm gonna do a thing.
I'm directing this movie. Do you want to be in it?
Wow.
It's gonna feature a lot of Academy-worthy moments for me, but you can ride my coattails. Also, Lady Gaga.
That's pretty much what it is. Yeah. I mean, I must admit, it's not a movie I'm going to watch.
It was enjoyable.
But
it was enjoyable, like the greatest show ever made. The Hugh Jackman.
No, didn't watch it.
Ringling Brothers.
I know what you're talking about. I didn't watch it.
Very good. I enjoyed the heck out
I
of
don't know.
it.
There's something about, I find films that are based on like real people or real events that are clearly fictional that I don't like.
Okay.
Like I don't get into it. Like you're making this person's real life and this person's real worries and struggles into a song and dance. Literally, I'm not part of this. I'm not saying I will never watch it, because at some point in time I will get bored, something will be on TV and I will look at it. It happens. And then I'll tell you exactly what I feel about the movie. And yes, there are movies that shock me, later on. Then I'm like, why didn't I watch this earlier? Oh, that's right, I have opinions. But at the same time, no, they're not like, they don't appeal to me right away.
The soundtrack is very good. You should Spotify it.
Okay.
You will enjoy it. I think Kesha does a song.
Okay, you just said Kesha.
What? What's
You
wrong
said
with
Kesha.
Kesha?
It's not no.
No, she's part of the Me Too movement. I'm with her.
Just because you're part of the Me Too movement,
I am not part of the Me Too movement. I am just with her. She's great. She's overcome like tremendous challenge.
I'm not saying she's a bad person.
She is not the girl who's waking up brushing her teeth with a bottle of Jack anymore.
Okay.
She has made significant strides. Like she did this last album with Macklemore, and it's amazing.
Okay.
And you should listen to it.
Okay.
And listen to the song for the soundtrack. We
Okay.
could be a part of the 21st century.
Why would I want that? You're crazy. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know. As soon as I hear the name Kesha, I'm like, ugh.
No, it's you will be surprised. I even considered seeing her in concert. It was that powerful to me.
But you've also seen Britney Spears in concert, so
not willing. I didn't pay for that ticket.
That's not the point. You still went. That's the whole point.
It was free.
That is true. As soon as it's free, I probably should have too.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not like wearing a denim like dress every day as an homage to Britney.
You're not? Like a patchwork denim dress? That thing was amazing.
And if we're on
with
that
the
point,
cowboy hat?
I'm pretty sure you were the one who bought the JT ticket for us to go.
Okay. First of all, that was JT and Jay-Z. First of all. Second of all, that concert was amazing. And third of all, I do not shy with the fact that I like JT. Okay, I don't. I do not like NSYNC, even though I know words to a bunch of their songs. Specifically Pop, which a lot of people don't like, but I love that song. But no, JT I have a little bit of respect for because of his talent. There you go. I'm just clarifying.
I'm just saying, if you like JT, then I could like Kesha.
You know what? That is an acceptable argument. I will take it. I will take it. That is fine. I feel like we've gone very far off topic.
Are we still talking about Aeon?
Okay. I know you had mentioned. So you hadn't watched the shorts. You said, right?
No.
Okay. So.
I saw maybe one or two.
Okay. So there are 5 shorts. That was like the introduction, quote unquote, to Aeon Flux. They're about 5 minutes long each. There is no dialogue in them. And in every single one of them, she just gets killed in some way.
Although I wondered, in the war one, was she the little girl?
In the war one, was she the little girl?
Yeah, so it showed Trevor as a young virile man with a full head of hair.
Okay.
And killed someone that looked like Aeon, which I interpreted to be the mother.
Okay.
And a man that was taking care of a little girl, which I interpreted to be as the father.
Okay. I don't know what episode that is.
It's the one where there's like 2 stations and like it's like early days, I guess, and there's like 2 factions and they're fighting against each other like in a war.
Like that's one of the actual episodes?
I think it's the 3rd short.
Oh, the 3rd short. Oh, Leisure?
Maybe it's the first one. No, it's the very first one.
The first one's called War.
Yeah.
But that one is like Aeon dies in like the first.
But what if that was
seconds.
the mother?
Think so?
Because there's a little girl that was left alive by the end.
Yeah, because like there was like the big door she opens that looks at the guy, and then she goes like goes back
inside.
Yeah,
and they made a big point of like showing when Trevor's taking off his mask to show like his hair. Do you remember his hair being like giant?
Yeah,
and it's not otherwise represented that way. He's like almost bald.
Yeah, and
so it's like, oh, he's supposed to be a young man here, and just killed these 2 rebels. Mm-hmm. And I interpreted that to be as the parent, as her parents.
Do you think? But I think, like, especially with the shorts, the fact that she dies in every episode, it makes me believe that she is actually like clones, and that maybe what it is that they, because even in that episode, like they have like male fighters and stuff, but they all look alike.
Yeah. Right.
And I think what it is that Aeon is one of the female ones, and then there's the male ones, but and she's like the little girl who's like the like maturing clone, or maybe her DNA is what's used for the cloning process or something.
Right, yeah.
And that's why they're protecting her so heavily.
Maybe, yeah.
Because like I was watching the shorts and I'm like, she dies in like the first 3 seconds. Like she flips over something, falls down, then she gets shot in the face or whatever. And those angles are unattractive, to say the least. And I was really mad that the male agents got to wear a lot of clothes. And I was like, well, if they're all agents and they're all flipping around, distracting people and whatever, shouldn't the male agents be all scantily clad as well? Like that, to me, that would make the most sense. But yeah, like I was like, why? Like it's Aeon Flux, and then like I understand if she dies in every short, but why would she be the first person to die? And then you see like this whole thing.
Is that where the flux part comes into play? Like, so maybe it's not a clone, but maybe it's a fluctuating time frame, like alternate dimensions, all similarly positioned, but just slightly different.
So you think it's not cloning, it's dimensional,
well, I think
or time theory or whatever?
Yeah, like, because I wonder, like, why Flux, right? Like, that's not, they never refer to her that way. Like, they're never saying, so what is it that's fluctuating? And it's often her and her mortality, right? Or like, but like the same situation keeps playing out the same, but slightly varied, like, meaning like they travel to the future, or they have different outcomes, or they don't kill each other this time. And so I was wondering, like, maybe that's the Flux part, right? Like, maybe it's like a fluctuating, dimension.
Well, that's the thing.
It's an interdimensional story.
I think within the actual episodes that might be true, but within the shorts, that's not clear in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
you're just like, because every short is completely different. She dies in completely different ways in every one of them. As I said, like, one of the things I find fascinating about the shorts is that it's really good storytelling. And one thing I once read was that, especially with like film and television medium, is if you can probably tell a story without dialogue, that's how you know you've made a good story, right? Because like, you can put a movie on mute, you watch the movie beginning to end, and you know the whole story. That's you have told the story well, right? And that's the same thing with these shorts. Is like, there's no dialogue, but you know exactly what's happening. She's here, she's been hired to kill this guy, she's about to do it, and then something happens and she dies, right? This one here, she has to go over here to do a thing over here, and she's gonna blow up a thing. She got snagged on something, she gets blown up, she dies. But you know, no dialogue or no instruction, no nothing. It's just a one word title. So like, the shorts are called like War, Gravity, Leisure, Mirror, Tide. That's it. Those are the titles of the episode. You're not giving any direction, but everything is told visually, and it's done fantastically. And I was like, I'm really impressed by that. And then I watched the show, and I was like, oh my god,
it's so long.
yeah, it's so long. But I was talking to my friend who actually knows a lot about like animated shows and stuff, and even he was saying that apparently one of the reasons why there was such a big break between the shorts and the actual episodes. So apparently the shorts were released in 1992, but the episodes were released in 1995, was because when they were trying to make the show, like, what's his name? Chung?
Peter?
Yeah, Peter Chung, making the show. Originally he was like, no, I want it to be the same way as the short, so there's no dialogue, but everything plays out on screen and you see everything. But as you can see in the show, there's so much dialogue in it.
Yeah.
And apparently that was like a big area of contention, that he was like, no, this is not the thing I signed up to do. I want to do this thing. And like, there was a big back and forth about it. But of course, I think he lost and got all the dialogue in there. I have a feeling that they didn't believe North American audiences could handle, 20 minutes of silence or 20 minutes of music, but no dialogue.
Yeah, it did remind me, the few shorts that I watched, it reminded me of a lot of is it the Star Wars Clone Wars that are silent?
Yes, by Jendy Tarnovsky. Oh,
Yeah.
They're so good.
Yeah, I found like even like the battling and the action, like they reminded me a lot of like, they're very similar to me in a lot of ways, like just the action and the pacing and the silence and the lack of music, and like they're very similar, very well done.
That's the thing with so that's the thing, like, he also had a hand in, Jendy also had a hand in Samurai Jack, and a lot of Samurai Jack, like the whole series, yes, there are dialogue heavy episodes, but most episodes are pretty silent. Like, it's a lot of like background noises, a lot of like music being played over, but there's very little dialogue in most episodes. And they're so vivid, and they're so clear, and they're so interesting, and they're wondrous stories. Mm-hmm. Like, they just kind of like, because with that, it's like a juxtaposition with this weird dystopian futuristic world, but then he's lost in a forest that's just alien and interesting and quiet, and he's just there, and He learns how to jump good. It's great. It's great. It's a real like you watch those shows specifically, and it's a real, like, I think like I've watched a lot of animated shows in my life, but Samurai Jack specifically, I think there needs to be like animation courses just based on that show, because even how they do like simplistic backgrounds, foregrounds, how they tell the story with just movement in between and all that kind of stuff. And like their use of, specifically like their use of color back and forth as well, fascinates me.
Yeah.
I can rewatch that show over and over and over again. It's amazing.
Well, it's just that really good principle of like, don't tell me, show me, right?
Yeah.
So like, of course, in a TV or in a movie, if you can get that information across through action, like, you're achieving your goals.
But that's one of the biggest problems, especially now, is that they don't do that anymore. They expect everything to be explained in dialogue. It's one of the reasons why I dislike Westworld, which makes people very angry at me. Because they don't visualize things very well. They have very interesting scenes and they have poignant moments, but a lot of the explanation of what's going on is told in dialogue. And I'm like, but these are clearly things you can visually show it.
I'm too busy often when I'm watching Westworld listening to the soundtrack. Like the moment in the first season where they start playing, it's like a Debussy song and it's called Reverie. Mm-hmm. I knew that's when Jeffrey Wright's character was a robot. I was like, oh, they just told us in music. So I think if you're a bit of a music nerd, then yes, there's a lot of like dialogue heavy. No,
like they do interesting things in there. Like one of the things I really loved was the fact that when you went into the saloon, the player piano played modern music, but player piano style. Yeah. And like I would listen to like 3 notes. I'm like, I know this song. And I'm
that's
like,
Black Hole Sun.
Yeah, and it was fantastic. And they do a lot of play on like audio things. And like I said, visual things on like the actual production quality of the show is very high. It's another one of those shows that's very pretty to look at. I agree with all of that. I just think it's full of itself and needs to do its job better. That's just me. So it's fine. And I actually really shouldn't I can't really critique it anymore because I haven't watched any of the second episode of the show. No, I watched like half an hour in the second season at some point in time. And I still rolled my eyes a great deal at it. And I didn't watch the whole first season, but I know all of the plot points. And I'm like, yeah, I saw that one coming. Okay, yeah. So the black guy's a robot? Yeah, I saw that one coming. That's fine. I knew that from like the 3rd episode. Like, come on. Like, it's not that I didn't try. It's just not hitting points with me. It's really not. And that upsets a lot of people, and I'm sorry. But yeah, that's just me. Anyways, okay, yeah. But Aeon Flux.
Right.
We keep losing track of
There's no zombies in A Star is Born, by the way. No. How much further can we get away from the topic?
I don't know. Jeez. We got to latch-key kids and stuff. Like, you went far. Well, I guess, I think we should be good. So like overall then, what do you think about Aeon Flux?
I think it is a fascinating piece of sci-fi material that was like very much of its time.
Yes.
And oddly enough, still very relatable till today. Like some of the concepts that it was like playing in very introductory stages, but like still major themes that are being played out in science fiction today. Like I love the nod to detective fiction with the corruption, and then adding like replication and clone and technology and robots on top of that. So, and privacy and
the falsifying of utopias.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of interesting points there, even if I find like the core central theme of the show problematic, which is an abusive relationship. Yeah. But I like the female protagonist. I think she's like a badass character, and I think she deserved a shot at another movie Maybe
you think so.
But how about like an animated feature?
Okay, I could go for an animated feature because I don't think the way the show is to get that feel and to get that sort of level of weird wouldn't age well if it was live action.
Yeah, and I want like the director to be like that French Canadian guy who did the second Blade Runner. Because then you'd have that like weird pacing, right? Like
he would definitely have that weird.
Yeah,
and he's also because one thing I liked about that second Blade Runner is the fact that I find sequels or remakes right now, despite taking the core theme from the original, leave everything else behind. They make the visuals completely different. They make the characters have different motivations. It's just completely different. It just forgets everything that comes before it. Whereas this movie, like Blade Runner 2049, was so well thought out that you actually feel like the time difference.
Yeah.
You're like, no, the technology's changed a little bit, the views have changed a little bit, the characters have changed a little bit, but it's all, you can see it being in the same world.
Yeah. The mise en scène is the same.
Yeah, it's the same. And that's one of the things I found amazing about it, is that they didn't forget the first movie at all. And it wasn't just the pacing, it was the visuals of it match, just slightly upgraded.
Yeah.
Slightly, not even shiny, or just newer.
Right.
And that's one of the things I found amazing about it. One of the things I really, really liked about the movie is that, no, they didn't just make brand new cars, and they didn't just make a brand new city. They didn't just make a brand new gun. Even they were just like, no, how would this evolve here? So the car he drives actually looks quite similar to the one in the original movie, but there's just little upgrades to it and just little extra bits to it. His home, that square that's kind of dingy and dark, it's improved and clean, like cleaner lines to it and stuff like that, but it's very similar, that kind of feeling is there. And that's what I really, really liked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And even like the central theme, which is like robots having consciousness, is like then further pushed about like robots having babies. Like,
well, and that was the whole theme about it, was the fact that this cannot get out, that robots had babies.
Yeah.
Because then you have to treat them like people.
Right.
And that's what they wanted to repress.
Yeah.
Right? And you're just like, but you have to give them rights. You can't stick them in mines. You can't put them in dangerous situations just because they're robots, They're not slaves to your need. Now you have to be like, no, is this thing gonna die if it does this? Then you have to do these 35 things instead.
You have to be accountable.
You have to be accountable for it. You have to be liable for it. And that's the thing they didn't want, because then it's gonna disrupt industry, and that's kind of something that's going on in our society today. So
my iPod has rights.
If it gets wet, then it has to be put in rice. There you go.
It has reproductive rights too, even if mine are fading.
Dark but hilarious.
So true.
So true. Anyways, thank you so much for coming back and doing the show with me.
Thank you.
As usual, had a great time talking about Aeon Flux and all of the plethora of discussion points that we managed to hit today. So that's it for this episode of Off My Shelf. You can follow along on Instagram and Twitter at ohmyshelf, or you can send me emails at ohmyshelf@gmail.com. Next week, we are going to be talking about After the Sunset and Akira. Ooh.
Yeah.
Hope you'll be here to listen.